Good morning, everyone. Happy Monday. Ah. I am here in the gully, just next to my house. And isn't it beautiful? And I have the beautiful Lisa Murray joining me this now. And we are going to talk some yummy alchemy. I hope you're having a beautiful beginning of your glorious week. Just waiting for Lisa to jump on the broadcast.
Hi.
There she is.
Hello.
Hi. Good morning.
How you doing?
Great. I'm great. And how are you, Lisa, this morning?
Yeah, I'm pretty good. I've had a pretty nice morning so far.
Beautiful. Yeah, we just returned from the beach. It's just such a... Yeah, well, I live in Queensland too. I live in the Currumbin Valley, so it's just quite glorious winters here. And you're in the Sunshine Coast, aren't you?
Yeah, I'm at Noosa. And yeah, I haven't gone to the beach this morning. I've been doing other things. But I'm just going to turn around this thing so I can actually put it in a container. It'll be much easier if I can ever get it to work. Yeah, and it's actually really just, yeah, I love living here. It makes me so happy, you know. So much ease, basically. Oh, there we are.
Yes.
It's going to work. Yeah, sorry, I'll come back to you in a second.
Yeah. There we go. Yeah, we're the hot face now.
Yeah. See?
There we are.
That's
beautiful.
Better, right?
Yeah. Great.
Yes.
So
right.
I was inspired to invite you this morning I've been doing a series of Monday masterclasses. And the reason why I chose the term masterclass is that I've noticed that whatever we're choosing to master is the thing that we're actually bringing in to our life the most. You know, it's what we're actually choosing to teach ourselves. So whatever we're teaching is the thing that we're really choosing to embody. And I have been following you on Facebook for quite a while now, and I love the Access Consciousness work, but I love your flavor and the color and vibrancy that you bring through in your message of creative alchemy. So it's something that it speaks to my heart. I mean, alchemy, I work, you know, that I work with doTERRA essential oils as one of my chosen tools, and it's, yeah, to me that's the kind of physical, visceral alchemy that we do with our body, together with the oils, but also with ourselves, with our physical, emotional, and spiritual being. But also just the creativity in our lives, and actually bringing creativity in how we create our experience of life. Even the day-to-day, and it's something that I'm choosing to master in this life. It's something that I'm inviting in for myself and for my family. So I just really wanted to play with you this morning and invite your energy in and have an awesome conversation with you. So
yeah, cool. Cool.
I'd love to just open it up to you and yeah, just what are you feeling right now? What's up for you right now? And what creative alchemy actually means to you?
Yeah, oh gosh. Well, you know, the first thing I would say is it's an ever-changing feast, right? Because sometimes it's all go and it's all action, and there's, you know, lots of huge stuff, you know, just flowing through, and everything is very physical creation. And then there's these other times, which is the space I'm in right now, where it's really very much about allowing and being just aware of different energies and just being present with them and allowing them to show you where they can go, you know. And it's really funny because I'm much better at the doing. Let me just say that, you know, it's so much easier for me. Like a lot of people are like, oh, I'm always procrastinating or this, and I'm like, oh no, I never have that problem. But when it comes to this space of like, you know, I just gotta like give some space to what's actually available. that sometimes it goes at a pace that for me, I'm like, oh my gosh, come on, can we go a bit faster? So there's this really interesting thing, I think, with creativity where, you know, you can't try to be creative. You either are being creative or you're not. And a lot of people put creativity into this sort of bucket of special things they do on Sundays, you know. And for me, it's very much an energy that's present all the time. And when I say that, not that I'm making paintings all the time or writing all the time or whatever, but it's an energy where in whatever I'm doing, I am being creative in that in some way. Mm-hmm. And that then allows that you don't get into a habit, you don't get into that same sort of groove or rut, your comfort zones where you're always stuck and you keep creating the same things over and over. So for me, I'm always very, very aware of, well, what can I be and do different that's actually going to allow a different possibility to show up, you know? And right now for me, that is this not doing thing, which is, and when I say not doing, I'm not refusing to do anything, but it's definitely allowing the awareness to come and being really chillaxed in the meantime, which, yeah, it's interesting. Let me just say that.
I hear you. I've noticed recently that, that I have impatience sometimes when I'm not in the active creation mode of whether it is even just something that needs to be done or something that I would love to be created. Just that space in between that is so valuable to actually allow things to drop in. And yeah.
No, you go. Sorry. I thought you were...
Yeah, no, just watching that. What I feel in those moments is that impatience comes from. I don't want to use the word desperation, but there is, I feel like I've done a lot of work to really let that go, but it comes from that place of, if I don't get it done, then I'm not going to be okay. And so, just allowing that to dissolve and allowing myself to, sit in that discomfort, let that dissolve and actually allow that, that abundant creation, the creation from the place of, wow, what's possible.
Yeah. Look, it's a really interesting space, and like the other thing, like, yes, because there's desperation, there's need, and there's also desire in that. For me at the moment, it's this thing of there's something I would really like to choose, and yet there's some kind of stop energy on it. And I'm just like, well, this is interesting, And so I've learned, though, that if I was to force the creation of that, it wouldn't work anyway. It wouldn't be what I imagined it to be. And so I think one of the things that it's really good to just be present with is this thing of, well, what if I would allow it? And what if I would allow it to show me something even greater? Because it's so easy to go to, that's the best thing, because that's the best thing we can see. But we never, I think when we try and do creating and creativity from a cognitive space, we don't actually go to the unknown in nearly as many ways as we could. And I think for me at the moment, there's this real thing of, okay, I just got to be willing to keep going to the unknown and going to the unknown and going to the unknown, and just seeing how that can show up.
I love that. And I can't remember who said it, where I read it, but it was something around, to think that we're smarter than God, or smarter than the universe is a bit it's a bit foolish to think that we when we try and control that thing and we get attached to that outcome or that thing that we're trying to create and force it through, we're actually blocking off the greater intelligence that's got a bigger plan, that's got that knows all of the unknown, that where the
absolutely
the everything exists. And allowing that, and that has really been something that in making the changes in my life that I have done in the last 5 years, of really changing a lot of programming from many generations. It has been just that, well, I I don't know, just really going, I don't know. I don't know.
Yeah.
And, you know,
Yeah.
if I don't know, then I'm just going to hand it over and see what's possible. And inviting in all the things that I don't know, all the ways that this could be created that I have no idea about. And
Yeah.
it just takes pressure off because I don't
Yeah,
have to
yeah,
know it
for
all.
sure.
I don't
Yeah.
have to see it all. And it also, you know, I'm not here doing it on my own. I'm just
Yeah.
playing with energies.
Yeah. And one thing I've noticed with this is like in the moment, we always know there's always one step at least, if not two or three, that we can take right now. And it's really more our energy of, oh, I want to know all of it and I want to have all of it now. Like if you take
Yeah.
time out of the equation, we always know, actually. And that,
Wow.
yeah, yeah. I've
Wow.
just been playing with this really in the last couple of weeks
Yes.
because you know, I don't really function from time. But then on the other hand, when I want something to happen in a certain time frame, all of a sudden time is very present, you know. And I was
Yes.
just like, there's something really funny about this, and let's just see if we can move it out of the way. So I've noticed that in the moment, there is always an obvious choice. And, you know, if we want to be creative, this is the thing. It's like, what's right in front of you? What's actually showing itself to you right now? That is the place to start. Because it's very easy, I think, to go to, oh, I've got the grand dream of this and the big thing of that. And I mean, I love those things too, don't get me wrong. But it's also, if we go with, well, what's here now that I can play with, that I can explore, that I can have an adventure with, and where can that lead? Then you get to this space where it's like, oh, there's this and there's that. And actually you can just get, you know, like lost in the moment in a way where you've got the pleasure of right now rather than always wanting something.
Yes. I so resonate with that. It's that the tapping into the gratitude, because I have noticed in myself, you know, moving through that where there was this idea of what I thought it needed to look like, and what in front of me wasn't it. So then it was
Yeah.
ignored, or it was not
Yeah.
given the energy that it was actually asking of me. And that would have actually led me to a greater outcome than I had thought of. So I love
Yeah.
that. You know, I love that we always actually know it's just time that is the introduced dimension that makes
Yeah.
us think that we don't.
Yeah.
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 And we're being given the perfect guidance of what's right in front of us in that moment to interact with, create with,
Yeah.
be
Yeah.
alchemical.
Yeah. And
Yeah.
it is that
Yeah.
really, because when you talk about it from this space we're talking about, that is the alchemy. That we can't see everything, but we do know everything in some part of our being, we know. And if we allow the alchemy to actually show up, then truly magic does come. And when we try and control it and force it and, you know, manage it into submission, then it gets a little sucky sometimes, you know? And then we take the long way around and we wonder why everything's so slow. And it's like, well, you know, and I've done all this. Like, I'm, you know, so not perfect at this at all, but I'm getting better. And I'm being really clear with myself at the moment that no, I'm not going to force this into fruition. I'm going to actually allow it to come to me if and how it can, you know?
Yeah.
And it's a very different energy.
Yes. Yes. And I've noticed that if I apply that force and even create the outcome, it certainly doesn't bring the feeling outcome that I was actually seeking in the first place. So it's, for me, I prioritize the feeling, the feeling good, but also I find that there's a lot of talk and inspiration about always feeling good, but I feel like actually when I step into the uncomfortable, that's when I'm stepping into the unknown. And so yeah, I invite myself more and more to go, okay, this is uncomfortable. I'll lean into it because this is where the magic is going to start to happen. But without that critical mind, it's such an
Yeah.
interesting. Yeah. What do you
Well,
how
it's
do you work with
funny.
that?
Yeah, it's funny that you're asking about this because I literally just a couple of weeks ago finished a tele-series about getting out of your comfort zones. And
Yes.
yeah, and it was really fun. So one thing I do a lot is I create the thing for where I want to go next. So I knew that that was part of what was required next. And so I create the telecall so I can have those conversations, so I can see what I know about it, basically.
Mm-hmm.
And it's
Mm-hmm.
really interesting because I think so much of our resistance to going out of our comfort zones and to going into that uncomfortable energy is actually just a resistance to control, or to not being in control, more accurately, probably. Because if
Yeah.
you actually trust yourself, and this is, what I see very clearly is right now I have to trust myself, even though it doesn't make sense on the surface how things are right now. I'm like, okay, I'm just going to trust myself. I'm going to trust that somewhere I do know. And it's not comfortable when you're in what I call the void, that gap where you're just like, oh, there's everything I know. There's the stuff in the future. Whoops. Got my hand in the cord. There's that stuff in the future that is technically unknown, but somehow, somewhere we do know it. And that sort of void or gap is actually really our present moment. And if we just look at, what if uncomfortable is not wrong, I think is a really big thing, because it's so easy to decide that being uncomfortable is wrong. Whereas for me, like I've had years of practice of being uncomfortable. I've pretty much been great at doing that with myself, And there's something about it I love because it always leads somewhere really magical. And so when those energies come, I'm like, oh, I'm uncomfortable. And just the acknowledgement of it actually can create a different possibility.
Yes. Yes. I so hear that.
Yeah.
I
Yeah. And so
yeah,
then it's
it
just
provides
playing
a
after
space,
that.
doesn't it?
Yeah, it does. And for me, it really then becomes, okay, well, how can I play with this? What adventure can I have with this? And then I even sometimes get to, well, what if this isn't uncomfortable? What if I'm just telling myself a story? Because often we tell ourselves something's uncomfortable, but when I really look at it, I go, well, is it really uncomfortable or is it just different to what I'm used to? And different is how we evolve and how we have a greater life.
Yeah.
And different is actually how we create, because basically you can't be creative if you're not willing to be different. Because creativity is about being different. It's about creating something different. It's about allowing something different to evolve.
Yeah, otherwise it's just replication, isn't it?
Yeah, which is actually not that creative.
Mm.
So, yeah, so this is the funny sort of thing we have where it's like, oh, on one hand, we want to be really comfortable. And yet, on the other hand, we want to be creative and be different. And we're asking for two things that on the surface look totally opposite. And yet, they don't have to be. There's actually this possibility in there where if you go to the energy of what you're asking for, and this is what I've been looking at, is okay, so if the thing I really would like isn't going to show up in the way I would like it, what are the energy or what are the things I was hoping I would receive from that, and how can I add those energies into my world right now? And that for me is a big part of creating with the alchemy as well. It's like I create from the energy first rather than the outcome, which is very different to how a lot of other people talk about it, because they're all about, oh, decide what you want, what's your goal, what's your outcome. But then you get obsessed with that and you won't see the 10 things that are better than that.
Mm-hmm.
And I'm pretty much like, okay, well, universe, can you show me the 10 things that are better than that, that are going to have a greater possibility for the future I would like to have. And in that space, and it's easy to say these words, and then being it, it's like It's a full-on choice in every moment, you know. I'm going to say that as well, because it does sound so very easy on the surface. And I'm watching myself these last every week going, wow, what else is there here? You know, like, how else can I be with this? And so, but once you get it, once you actually go, oh, that's how to be with that in that way, it just opens up so many doors, you know. And I'm very different with this than I was 2 years ago, and even more different than I was 5 years ago, you know. So it's a thing that's a work in progress too. It's not like you get to it and there's that one place that, oh, I've got the answer and I'm here now.
The arrival.
Yeah. It's not really that. Creativity is much more an evolution. But a lot of people like to define it as something where you arrive and you have a fixed outcome. And for me, it's always an evolution.
Yes, I feel like I've discovered that as I've chosen, and just hearing what you're saying about things being different. I recently, broke through another threshold, I guess you could say, in my life, but also in my business, and a lot of people were asking me how I did that, and what I said was that it was about willing to be uncomfortable and and knowing that I needed to be different, and that inviting in what that actually meant, and not resisting that, just allowing the difference and allowing it to be foreign, allowing it to be, which I'm still actually in the process of, even the aftermath, I'm still in the process of unfolding the difference. But as you were talking, I was feeling, wow, that's what desire is. Desire is actually the moving towards something different. So we experience the passion or the desire, and we have this inspiration, and it is about difference. But then when we get to the different, we have this, the judgment that it's uncomfortable, it's not, it's not me, it's not where I'm at. It's that kind of judgment of it, judgment of self, that we then end up repelling the very thing that we were desiring, that we were moving towards, that we were creating and bringing in. It's really fascinating. Yeah, I think it's such an important thing to just have that awareness. For everyone who's watching, I know I can see so many of you watching, that I know that you all are choosing to create your life, and choosing to create your life differently to what we have been taught, and just having the awareness that there are judgments that we put upon that process of just bringing in desire, and then having these blockages or resistances.
What's really interesting about what you're saying is that, and I've had this awareness before, but when you don't quite get it the first time, the universe sends it back to you again, is that the moment you judge something that you start to create, you kill it. So you uncreate it. The judgment uncreates it. And for me, at the moment, one of my big things is the discipline of just not judging anything that shows up, whether it's comfortable, uncomfortable, lots of action, no action. It's like, okay, is this taking me to where I'd like to go? Yes or no? That simple, And if it's not, that's okay. You can change track, you can do something different. But if we go, it's not here yet, because, a little Miss Impatience here, where is it? My thing isn't here yet. I want it to be here now. That kills it. And we don't acknowledge all the places that we kill it. We just think we're bad at creating, but we're not bad at creating. We're just really good at killing our creations. And what I know is the more acutely aware I become of not killing things, the easier they show up. And, and literally, if you don't want to judge something, you have to have gratitude for it. And you have to have gratitude for you, because basically judgment and gratitude cannot coexist. And so if you literally just go, okay, I'm going to be grateful for what I'm asking for. I'm going to be grateful for me. I'm going to be grateful for whatever shows up, whether it looks anything like what I'm asking for or not. Then that creates a different energy where the thing you're asking for, or the energy of what you're asking for, can actually show up with a fair bit of ease, actually.
I love that. And just as you were talking, I was feeling into the role of trust. Like, how do you see trust? Because, yeah, as you're talking, I'm feeling that, you know, when I do that process of inviting something in and then stepping, you know, leaning into whatever is then in front of me that is, you know, moving me towards that thing, but may not look exactly like that thing. I do
My
trust.
sense, yeah, yeah.
So how you work with that? How do you work with that, even with people that may, you know, be
Yeah,
wavering on that a bit?
yeah. For me, first of all, I want to say that trust is not blind faith, okay? Trust is I'm present, I'm being aware of the energies and the possibilities that are available to me, I'm choosing things, and I'm trusting that if I choose it, it will take me somewhere I'd like to go. And that trust for me comes because I've done it so many times and I've thrown myself out on a limb so many times and then seen this absolute magic show up and gone, oh wow, look at that. And so for me, trust is not this one big thing that you do once a year. Trust is something you build every day, right? Because a lot of people are like, oh, they only will employ trust when it comes to something really big or when it comes to something really important. But see, I employ it every day. And it's interesting actually, because I'll give you an example that maybe will make it really practical. So must have been last weekend, like a week ago, I said to the universe, okay, show me what I could be receiving and could be asking for that I haven't even considered. And that was all I said. And I was just like, I'd like to know what that would be, you know. And then I was decided I was going to go to the beach, go and get some lunch down at the shop, and then go and sit on the beach and eat it and just chill out, hang out and see, you know, what I felt like doing after that. And as I went to the shop that I knew I was going to, at the cafe next door, there was my auntie. And she's like, oh, do you want to have lunch? I was like, sure, why not? You know, and this is the thing, because if you go to blind faith, then you would have had to go with your original choice, which was to go and get the takeaway food and eat on the beach. But I looked at the energy, I was like, oh, actually, no, it feels really light to sit here with her. So I'll sit here with her and her family. And it was really nice. We had a really lovely lunch. And she told me, because she's a great storyteller, she told me a couple of stories. And one of them, I was just like, oh, I could have that. Never occurred to me. And so this is where if you go with the flow of every tiny little choice being willing to contribute something to you, then the trust comes in all those tiny little yeses that the universe gives. And so you don't have to prove anything then, and you don't have to doubt it, because literally if those things come to you so simply and easily on the small scale, the actual scale is not the thing, it's actually whether you have the trust. Does that make sense?
Yes, absolutely.
Yeah.
And I think it's such an important, it's a thread that I like to, you know, it's kind of like I like to pull this thread and it becomes like this, you know, it goes from a gossamer thread into a thicker kind of cotton and then into a plait and then into a rope and then into a big anchor. And it's cultivating that trust within myself.
Yeah. And this is where, like I've created a lot of things over the years. And I get that a lot of that was about showing myself to trust, like literally showing myself that I could trust myself, because when I look back at the combined sort of, 8 or 9 years worth of creation since I've worked for myself, I realized that I always knew where I was going, even if it looked totally random on the surface. And often it did look totally random on the surface, like people would have looked at my business and gone, what the hell? And people still do, I think, actually, because I literally just go with what I know is next without trying to work out the big picture. And it has continually taken me to amazing places.
Yeah. Yeah, it's so beautiful. I think that's something that I've really been drawn at. What really inspires me about your energy is that it's like loosening and letting go, unraveling the grip of controlling, of needing to know,
Yeah.
of needing to, have those goals and those visions and those things, having them in place to make us feel safe. And it's something that I've
Yeah.
really been working with within myself, and really feeling into the collective as well, and really wanting for people to be able to create from a place of just knowing that everything's taken care of. And not just that, but there's just all this magic and available that we're just about to discover, and we're just in the adventure of that discovery. And but it's that kind of choice, isn't it? It's the choice to step into that place of not knowing and not looking like all ducks are in a row.
Yeah, and what I want to add to that too, because yes, absolutely, the all ducks in a row. It's like, really, you never see that until hindsight, is my sense of it, actually. But the thing where people judge everything by did it work or not, and usually what they mean by that is did it make me money or not, And I've really learned that if I don't use that as the benchmark for what something creates, it's amazing what things create that you don't even know about. A really fun thing to play with the universe is just to say, okay, universe, can you show me what contribution I've been that I'm not aware of, or that I'm being in the world that I'm not aware of? And whenever I do that, and I haven't actually done it for a long time, so I'm actually glad we're having this conversation, because I'm like, oh yeah, that's really fun. Well, because it actually, what happens is people come out of the woodwork and tell you the most amazing things, and random stuff shows up and you're just like, oh my gosh, I had no idea. And it's actually really fun to see the much bigger picture, just besides the money or success, by this reality's terms. When you start to look at this much bigger picture of what your choices are creating, it's magic. It really is magic, because, it's even yesterday, it was really funny. Years ago, I was featured in this book, and I wasn't very happy about the book. Let me just say that. It was not the quality or the standard that I would have expected for what was involved. And I literally got my 200 copies and threw them in the bin, pretty much, because I was just like, this is embarrassing. I'm not having this with my name part. Anyway, I was talking about the mistakes that you make in my Creative Alchemy group on Facebook. And I put a picture, because I was cleaning up and I found a couple of copies of the book, and I'm like, oh, they need to go in the bin, And it was really interesting, because I wrote this story about how, it was a big mistake. But what I did get out of it was that I learned that I could write. So I basically, everything came to me the editor came back and said, you need to keep writing. You can write. You're a natural at this. And I had no idea. I thought I was bad at writing. Had no idea. So it was really cool to have that. And it stood me very well these last few years. And then what was interesting, though, yesterday when I put this in my group is someone in there writes, that book was actually how I started stalking you. And I'm like, what? And she'd won the book from someone else who was also in the book, and found me, and something I'd written, which I don't even remember what I wrote in that book now, but something I'd written had changed something for her. So she started being my friend online. And this is where you can never predict the outcomes. And we are so very linear in trying to predict the outcomes. And yet there is no linearity with it. And if we are willing, and it's funny because someone a bit earlier wrote something about it's hard being so uncomfortable. It's actually hard being linear. And if we would let go of the linearity and just know that there's nothing linear, there's nothing logical about these choices, and just enjoy them for the pleasure of them, then that uncomfortable does turn into an adventure.
Absolutely. Oh my gosh. Yes. I just love the point about how just judging the success of something based on one element of what is actually possible in that outcome.
Yeah.
And I definitely have experienced that in my experience in the business, when we have set our sights on a goal, and we still do this, we still set goals, but we have an openness around what's possible. And we set this goal, and we didn't reach the goal, but we learned so much, and we had these amazing insights into where in our business really needed more love, or where there was some really interesting energy, or where there was, you know, lots of beautiful energy. We got to discover where there was amazing creation and co-creation, and where we were requiring different energies. And it was so valuable, like beyond reaching the goal. And that was such a big realization. It's like, oh, there's so much more value here than just that one thing.
Yeah. And it's interesting, I think, if we only ever focus on the goal and give all our energy and attention to the goal, you actually miss out on the gold that is all around it. You know, like literally, it's like you can have the goal or you can have the gold, and which one are you actually choosing? You know? And for me, I've learned, oh God, so many times I've seen this, and now I'm literally like, well, what's the gold that I'm seeking rather than what's the goal I'm seeking? Because I see that if I seek the gold, then it can show up in so many different ways. And that unpredictable, non-linear kind of energy is actually where the real magic of living is. Because that's actually the joy. Like magic is a joyful, pleasurable, generative energy. You know, it's only if we're obsessed with control that we lose the magic.
Oh, yes. So say if someone is sitting in a place where they just maybe through this conversation, they might be becoming aware of where they are controlling. So because I feel into, when you're speaking, I'm feeling into my body and where I'm gripping. I can feel like, oh, okay, there's some grip around there. So in those situations, like, how do you work with that kind of energy? Like, what do you do to work with, okay, so there is control there. I have an awareness around that. What do we do in those moments if we're wanting to change?
Yeah. Well, for me, I tend to run energy clearings, like access consciousness clearings, because that is the fastest way through for me generally, because otherwise I'll just think about it nonstop and that will be crazy and it won't take me anywhere. And also, like, you know, just things like allowing things to fall apart. And I know it sounds crazy in one way, but, you know, Dr. Dane here from Access Consciousness, he said this to me in about February this year. He said, allow it all to fall apart. And I literally did. And what's come out of that has been magical for me. And so it's like sometimes we are controlling because we think we have, well, mostly we're controlling because we think we have the right answer, because we think we know how it's all going to work. But when we just go, okay, cool, I'm just going to let it all fall apart. I'm not going to try to fix this. I'm not going to try to change it. I'm just going to go, okay, universe, show me what you got and see what shows up. You know, and sometimes you do have to make choices in there, you know. But if you're willing to back yourself and to trust yourself when you make those choices and make them with the awareness of this is the energy that's available if I choose it, even if I don't know what that looks like, then that control has to go away, actually, because you're choosing beyond it. And that's really the thing at the end of the day, is I just go, okay, if I'm being a stupid controlling cow, which sometimes I am, then it's like, okay, where can we go from here? You know, and I think the thing is also to have people that you trust, that you can have those conversations with. You know, like I have a couple of friends who literally, when I know I'm being ridiculous, you know, like I have been this last few days, I've been a bit ridiculous in some ways. I'm like, phone a friend. Okay, who can actually assist me with this? And, you know, the energy comes with the person and you go, okay, cool. Can you help me out? And then there's this whole new space. And it's like, I think as you unpack the thing of control, you get more and more aware of when you're being controlling. And this is kind of where I started in this whole conversation of this thing of, well, you know, I am really so clear at the moment that if I try and control and force this thing that I would like, it's going to have a crash and burn rather than just be maybe a bit uncomfortable through the phase of getting to where I know it's possible. So it's funny that we use control to avoid what we think is going to happen, or what we think is not going to happen, but actually it's the control that stuffs it all up. There's quite a bit of irony in there. So literally it's choice, and it's literally just being willing for things not to be perfect, actually.
Yeah. Wow. Yeah. When you say that, I see those words, the perfection of imperfection, and just getting another understanding, another awareness around that statement, that the perfection of the imperfection, where there's so much more perfection that come up with in the imperfection.
Yeah. Indeed there is. And that's the thing is, once you start trusting that that is actually how it works, and once you stop trying to prove to yourself every time that it's going to be okay, but you just go, okay, no matter what shows up here, I know it'll be fine, Like when you get to that space, then you don't try and control it. You don't try and make it be the perfection that you thought it should be. Years and years ago, because I was a very good perfectionist, and, I still have my moments, but I'm getting better. And years ago, Dane actually said to me, he said, well, what if you're too wonderful to be perfect? And it literally just blew all my circuits in one go. Because I was like, what?
Say that again.
Of course, Okay, so what if you're too wonderful to be perfect? Because you see, perfection is always about getting it right and thinking that you're wrong. And if you're wonderful, then you can't really be wrong or right. You can just be wonderful. And it was awesome. I mean, I'm so grateful he said that to me, because it totally changed my reality. Because I was always in that thing of wrong or right, and that took me to, what would wonderful look like, and that's something totally different.
And the word wonderful can look like anything.
Yeah, absolutely.
So you can be wonderfully crying, you can be wonderfully releasing.
You can be a wonderful failure. You can be totally just wonderfully anything you want. Yeah, because the thing is, wonderful, if you look at the energy of the word, it's full of wonder, which means you're still curious, you're still wondering what else is possible, you're still asking questions, you're still in that exploration. So it's not the end, and so you don't have to get it right, because it's not the end. You're just playing in the middle somewhere.
Yes. I love that. And for me, asking questions it's so simple, and it's so, it so changes things if you allow that. And as I was saying at the start, obviously the oils are something that I really draw upon to be in the gratitude and be also in the energy of what I'm desiring. So I will, with my knowledge of the oils and the plants, and and also trusting my intuition and whatever it is that is calling upon me to come and help me. I see them as my little friends, and they are like, okay, I can help you now, and okay, I can help you now, and just using them, in the alchemy of, okay, I'm inviting in this energy, and so I'm going to, surround myself in it, bathe myself in it, and allow the reality to slowly catch up. And then using questions along with that. So I feel like I do the cellular alchemy, and then having the questions, then I'm more open to the questions, because sometimes I find if I'm in a really gridlocked mind frame, then a question, I can just be like, that's how that's the kind of
stop asking me questions, or I'm going to kill you.
My daughter actually says that if she's really upset with me and I ask her a question, just stop asking me
Yeah.
questions.
Yeah.
So then I'll just start diffusing oils just to kind of change the energy of the space, and then we can start having a conversation.
Yeah.
So yeah, what kind of questions do you ask? Like what things do you do when you feel
Oh
like
my
you're
gosh.
trying to control something?
Oh, when I feel like I'm trying to control something. So you mean what questions are asked to get out of it, or?
Yeah.
Yeah. Um, what else is possible is a really good one.
Mm,
You
yeah.
know, literally, it's like, okay, universe, can you show me what else is possible and I love asking that I haven't even considered, because that actually also takes me out of my head. Because it's
Yeah.
very easy to then try and answer the question. And one thing about the access questions that really is magical is that you don't go looking for an answer. You're asking the question to invite new energies, new possibilities, new choices in. And you don't have to find the answer. You allow the answer to come to you. And when I say the answer, it's just awareness. It's not the answer. It's not the right answer. It's just allow the awareness to come to you of what's actually possible. So yeah, for me, just that thing of what else is possible that I haven't even considered, it takes me lots of places. Oh, I'm going to run out of battery soon. I better watch what I'm doing. I can go and find a plug if we need to. Yeah. So yeah, it's like there's this whole thing of for me with the control. Sometimes I also, and you know, this probably isn't the way Access would do it, but sometimes I'm just like, okay, so what idiot am I being here? Like, what am I trying to? Because often I find when I'm doing control, there's actually a resistance to a future that would be more amazing than I'm willing to receive. And so literally I start looking at, well, you know, where am I being stupid? And stupid being a lack of awareness and, you know, that kind of thing. And I will actually look at it really, and you've got to be bluntly honest with yourself when you're going to do that. And then I'm like, okay, that's got to change, that's got to change, that's got to change, you know. And that then allows a different possibility to go forward. Or I'll just, again, phone a friend and ask someone just to give me a big fat wedgie in the middle. That means that I can't continue down that same path that I was on. Because you know what it's like. If you just continue down that same path, you're just like, oh, I'm still being an idiot, you know,
Yeah.
which actually doesn't really work that well, because that's that's where you judge yourself actually. And I mean, I can say it with a sense of humor now, but if I'm really in it, then I'm usually not laughing about it.
Yeah.
I'm usually like, I'm an idiot, you know, and just, yeah. So you don't really want to go to that. You want to more go to the thing of, well, what actually could I change here? Because the moment you be or do something different is the moment that you change the entire energy of the entire thing that's going on. And it doesn't even have to be a big thing that you be or do different. You know, for me, just a simple thing like going for a walk can totally change it. Because I'm just like, oh, I get to move my body, get to see different energies, get to just be in the world in a different way. And usually if I go for a walk, by the time I get home, all that stuff is gone and I'm off on my next adventure.
Absolutely. I hear it's so important, that change for me, just changing the environment, changing my state, changing, you know, by movement,
Yeah.
by breathing, by just moving into a different room, moving outside. It just opens up a different possibility of how I can be. And then,
Yeah.
but yeah, I love asking what else is possible. And I love that addition of that I haven't even considered.
Yeah.
Yeah, because whatever we have considered has got us this far.
Well, exactly. And this is the thing, right? This is the beauty of questions. It's like, well, if you already knew the answer, you wouldn't need to ask a question. And if you haven't solved it or changed it, then you don't know and you need to ask a question, you know. And
Yeah.
for me, like, yeah, I mean, I probably would ask, I don't know, thousands of questions in most days, you know, because for me, it's a way of creating.
We may have lost Lisa.
I'm back.
Oh, no, here she is.
No, I'm back. Yeah,
Yes,
sorry.
got you.
Yeah. Yeah, so it's literally this thing of just playing with the questions and exploring and seeing where they can take you. But I don't obsess very much about control. I just ask to be aware when I'm being it and doing it. And other than that, and basically for me, what I know is I'm being controlling when things aren't flowing.
Mm-hmm.
And so if I just allow things to flow, then I know everything's good. And when I'm a bit like, I want this, and then I want that, and then I want that, then I'm like, oh, okay, really need to change something here.
Beautiful. And so this last thing that I would love to just bring in to our conversation is something that that I have personally just been experiencing recently, and it's the term that just keeps coming to me is everything is up for review. And when it first came to me, I was really uncomfortable and just saying, oh man, I thought I had everything. Just like trying to get some things settled, I was just trying to get a bit more, comfortable and and then just keep getting this, everything's up for review. And I was sitting with it, even just last night I was having a conversation with one of my friends, and I was like, oh, that's actually conscious living. That's when you're consciously, like when you're reviewing everything all the time, that's actually choice. You're actually creating from choice. So, which is something I've been, cultivating, but I just didn't realize it looked like this. It does. I know. It's quite a surprise. It's quite the surprise when you go, oh my gosh. So literally, if I want to have total choice and total possibilities, I'm going to have to allow everything to change if it wants to change. Yeah, I know. It's a freaky thought when you first have it. And then after that, you're like, oh, actually, that could be really interesting. I wonder what that would be like, And it's funny because, like, I have a lot of things I'm really happy with in my life. And then I'm also like, not to go into the energy of dissatisfaction, but to be in the energy of curiosity of, well, what can I have that would be even greater than this? And that's that energy of when you allow it to be up for change, then, there is always more possible. Yes. And I just realized that even though I consciously choose choice, I consciously choose creating my life, there's still an element of like, I don't know if I want to use the word conditioning or I think that's the most appropriate word, just conditioning of that. With the aim is actually to get things settled. The aim is to have these things in place. Well, the aim is to re-establish the comfort zones so that we can go back on autopilot, except that it doesn't really work like that anymore. There is no autopilot anymore. I mean, you can try and have it, but it's not going to probably work that well. And literally, it's like, the aim is always to re-establish the comfort zone. I see that with a lot of people, and I talked about it a lot on my calls because I was like, this is the thing that actually stops us having everything we desire. Because if we didn't always seek the comfort zone, if we made uncomfortable the comfort zone, then you could have literally anything you ask for. That's what I'm aware of. So, it's a play in progress. I love that. And so can people still access your comfort zone telecall? Is that what it's called?
Those calls. Good question. Yes, they probably can. If they write to me or just send me a message on Facebook, yes, they can. They're pretty full on, I will say. Like, we did a lot of clearings, and they're not for the faint of heart, but if you're really desiring to have what we've been talking about, then yes, write to me and we'll find a way. Definitely. Yeah.
Great. I can feel the need for that. I can feel how, just the energy of, of stepping out of our comfort zone, but also realizing that that's the very thing that, we are moving towards, even as a human race. As an experience on this earth, it's. The energy is requiring us to be more in the discomfort and creativity, but also the magic of that. That's where I love that the word, the alchemy, and the magic. It can be magical, not just that kind of yeah, I can feel that feeling of contraction of the discomfort. It's like, oh, that.
Yeah. Yeah.
What's it gonna? Like when you get up to the top of that roller coaster and you're looking down, you're going, am I about to go down there?
Yeah. Well, I think a lot of it too is we think we're going to lose, and what we never look at is actually, what if it was never about losing? What if it's always about receiving more? It's so easy to think that, oh, if I lose my comfort zone, I lose. When it's actually like, well, what could you receive if you lost your comfort zone? Because actually we don't look at that. We're too busy protecting rather than creating.
Yes. Oh, wow. Thank you so much, Lisa. That's just, that was perfect. A perfect way to wrap up a beautiful conversation with you this morning. I really appreciate all that you bring, and I really appreciate having this conversation with you this morning. I feel lighter.
Yeah. Oh, yay. So do I, actually. So I'm grateful to you. But this is the thing of the universe delivering as well, right? Because, literally, I'm on the edge of all of what we're talking about at the moment today, and it's just like, oh, yeah, I know how this works. I know what to do with all this. Chill out, enjoy your day. That's really the conversation I've had with myself this morning. So I'm grateful to have it out loud and in public so that it's a really good reminder to myself as well. So I'm grateful to you. Thank you.
Thank you, Lisa.
And everyone who's been listening.
Yes, everyone that's here. I haven't been able to see any comments I've had, if there have been any. But yes, that's part of my inspiration to create these calls, is to bring out the mastery that is in the moment of whatever it is that you're actually choosing. And I really appreciate you coming to play with me this morning and being the colourful contribution that you are. And I wish you a magical Monday.
Thank you. Thank you.
Thank you so much, Lisa.
You too.
And yes, so just anyone who is interested in Lisa's creative alchemy, that's her whole body of work, but also that creating out of your comfort zone. I'm guessing just private message you.
Yeah, just that's the easy way. Yeah. Yep.
Great. All right. Thank you, beautiful people, for joining us this morning. It's been so fun. Mwah. Love to you all. And we'll be seeing you next time. Mwah. Bye.
Bye. Thank you.
Pleasure.